and some news about the news of Reuters and AP. Both I had used prior and have excellent news feed service. If a bit pricey for my low budget, but they have denied prior knowledge of the Hamas October 7th attack. So Reuters has categorically denied allegations that it had advanced knowledge of the Hamas attack on Israeli civilians and soldiers on October 7th. The denial continues in response of claims by Honest Reporting suggesting that Reuters and other international news organizations were aware of the attack beforehand. Reuters has clarified that the photographs it published were taken by independent photographers in Gaza with no prior relationship to them, and only after the events had started. So they had these photos, right? And so Israeli government has sought clarification from the news agencies regarding these claims, which Honest Reporting stated were not accusations of complicity, but raised ethical concerns about media coverage. The Associated Press also cited in the report, affirmed that it had no prior knowledge of the attacks. So, like they said, they do not believe Reuters and AP, Associated Press, they're legit, but there's a possibility that some of their journalists had prior knowledge that they dealt with that they didn't know beforehand, right? So Phoenix report. There was also the 750 journalists that are less so that basically were calling Israel all kinds of baloney that's circling America right now, along with the university students that are more than a little bit diluted. And the last odd news: Israel implements groundbreaking sperm preservation for fallen soldiers. In a groundbreaking medical and ethical move, Israel has initiated a program to preserve the sperm of soldiers killed in action, facilitating potential future conception. This initiative reflects Israel's advanced fertility technology, raising significant ethical and legal debates, particularly regarding to the wishes of the deceased and the rights of their families in a society deeply invested in procreation and lineage. I think this is great, but yes, it's a debate. In case you haven't noticed, I do have a tremendous respect for this IDF, and everything from my angle from the outside in. It's just they do a better job than most, maybe because they have to. There's a press briefing by spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari. He does one almost every day. I believe it's every day actually. And here is a bit of a quote from his last one on the 10th. So far, they have notified, sadly, 356 IDF fallen soldiers who fell in the battles for the defense of the state of Israel. May their memories be a blessing. Now, this is a translation. We will continue to accompany the families and strengthen them. Before Shabbat, through the media, I heard of a highly moving recorded radio conversation between a father and his son who are currently serving in Gaza. The son is an armored corps soldier currently operating with his tank crew in the heart of Gaza. His father is a reservist fighter pilot and is recorded providing his son and crew with aerial support. Together, in the state of Israel, we are fighting on a unified front. This could only take place in the IDF. We are fighting together for our home. That was his, the last statement that we have him. You can check that out online. Here's a map of all the proxies of Iran, and they just seem to be acting at will, all of them almost in tandem against Israel, and Iran just keeps pumping out more rhetoric, and America, I'm not sure what's happening. Okay, it's Remembrance Day today, and the city to watch is London, where the Palestinian supporters are calling for 1 million people march, and the London police have had a record of late of basically, they said they don't have the numbers to contain these protests, these pro-Palestinian protests, and so now the veterans are going to go out. This is a hotbed for trouble. I hope I'm wrong, but this is a picture from the Times of Israel. And check out the Free Press on a very good article on this subject. The wonderful thing about the democracy of Israel is Palestinians can amalgamate it within the Israeli society. 20% of the Knesset, it's their parliament. It's is Islamic. So, all right, here the 401st Brigade strikes Hamas Shati Battalion at the Badr outpost, and they eliminated approximately 150 terrorists in the Hamas stronghold. And this is the picture here. So this was a fairly large battle, and a successful one by all reports. In response to the launches over the last day, IDF fighter jets and aircraft struck a series of terror targets belonging to the Hezbollah terrorist organization in Lebanon. Among the terror targets that were struck were a number of terrorist infrastructure and militia posts in which Hezbollah terrorists operated, weapons depots and intelligence infrastructure that assisted Hezbollah in gathering information and directing terrorism against Israel. It's they just keep continuing to go, and the IDF so far has had a very balanced hand, are holding back, I would even say. Saying that the IDF has done an excellent job keeping the Hezbollah from escalating things, and I assume things would have gotten a lot worse, but the IDF, you're gonna have to hand it to them. They have not had it escalate much more than a tit for tat, with Israel definitely hitting larger hits. Though, you don't hit someone larger than you, right? It's just you use your words. That's not what Iran's proxies want, though. As I showed you on that map, the Houthis have been shooting missiles at Israel, and the Arrow, which is the top line of missile defense, has been capturing them. The Americans, a ship hit one of the missiles, and they just nothing has happened to them yet. In return, there's been several attacks on American bases as well. Now, IDF is good forces that they are. 3 soldiers were severely injured due to an anti-tank missile launch at an IDF post in the area of Manara in northern Israel. The soldiers were evacuated to receive medical treatment. Their families have been notified. Also, a short while ago, an IDF soldier was severely injured and another moderately injured from a fall. I should be doing Hamas base. No, it's not apples to apples. It's apples to garbage. I believe they should have used rhetoric and they didn't. Okay, a bit about this Iron Sting mortar. It's basically 120 millimeter guided mortar munition developed by Albert Systems of Israel. In 2021, it was just finished testing, so it's fresh. It's off out of press. It was used for reconnaissance units and such, but I believe it's being used more and more because it's an excellent tool in there, in the toolbox for the IDF. And you can check out that online. I recommend you just Google, and you'll find quite a few videos about this, a new system, because it can be either laser guided or GPS to hit your target instead of just dumb mortars and you got to dial it in. All right. Regardless of how you feel about Trump, Mike Pompeo, he had an excellent service and he stayed away from the fray of a lot of the silliness of that happened in administration. But Pompeo was just at the Hudson Institute, and here I'm going to read the whole spiel on it, so bear with me. Pompeo analyzed the Gaza-Israel conflict in 2023 and Iran's growing influence in the Middle East at the Hudson Institute. And I imagine, I haven't seen, you can check this out, Google that one on YouTube. The former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, in a comprehensive discussion with Dr. Mike Doran, of the Hudson Institute, highlighted the increased influence of Iran in the Middle East and criticized what he perceives as a U.S. policy of appeasement. Mike Pompeo pointed out that this policy has allowed Iran to strengthen its proxy networks, including groups like Hamas and the Houthis. He emphasized that these groups cannot be viewed independently, but as an extension of Tehran's agenda. And I concur with that. Well, he knows more than me. Pompeo also addressed the situation in Syria, noting Iran's involvement in actions against American interests. He underscored the necessity of supporting Israel's right to self-defense and criticized the international community's calls for Israeli restraint. The former secretary's comments shed light on the complex geopolitical dynamics in the region, especially the interplay between Iran's strategic maneuvers and the broader context of Middle Eastern conflicts. Now, yeah, you can check that out on YouTube. Definitely an excellent one. And Iran's foreign minister discusses escalation in Gaza with Qatari counterpart. So there's something going to come out of that. Now the last point, basically everyone's thinking the same thing here. Well, there's 2 points actually, sorry. The Iranian foreign minister predicts a wider conflict. Iranian foreign minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian, in a call with his Qatari counterpart, warned of the inevitable expansion of the Gaza-Israel conflict due to an intensifying attacks in Gaza. This statement raises concerns about the effectiveness of Washington's diplomatic endeavors and military deployments in preventing further destabilization in the Middle East. Iran, an ally of Hamas, has not directly intervened, but has repeatedly expressed solidarity with Hamas and given them lots of money and training amidst Israeli strikes. These developments occur as Israel intensifies its efforts to dismantle Hamas infrastructure, which is reportedly embedded within civilian areas of Gaza, which you can see all the footage. Iran's support for Hamas and its denial of involvement in the October 7 attack that escalated the crisis highlights the complex web of regional alliances and animosities. Iran also supports Hezbollah and Islamic Jihad, groups with strong connections to Hamas. And here the Israeli Arrow-3 system successfully intercepts Yemeni missile. Israel deployed its highly advanced Arrow-3 and missile defense system for the first time to intercept a long-range missile launched from Yemen towards the Red Sea region. This marks the first operational use of the Arrow-3 system. This is a highly advanced system, which is developed in collaboration between Israel Missile Defense Organization, the Israel Ministry of Defense, and the United States Missile Defense Agency. The Arrow-3, designed to intercept missiles outside the atmosphere, is a significant component of Israel's multi-layered defense strategy and one of the most sophisticated systems globally for defending against long-range ballistic missile threats. This interception follows the recent first use of the Arrow-2 system, underlining Israel's efforts to enhance its defensive capabilities. So that's definitely coming on it. A Norwegian-Iranian man has been charged in the deadly Oslo Pride attacks. Zainar Matapur, a Norwegian citizen originally from Iran, has been charged with aggravated terrorism for the deadly shooting at an LGBTQ festival in Oslo. All right, so attached is the Lieutenant Colonel Amir, commander of the 7th Brigade, and he gives a speech. So a little bit of the gist of what he said is, over the last day, the IDF soldiers of the 7th Brigade conducted raids on Hamas military posts in a training compound located in the heart of civilian areas inside the Gaza Strip. The soldiers secured buildings and seized dozens of weapons, missiles, UAVs, maps, communication devices, mortars, attack drones, and technological assets. During the raid, the troops eliminated approximately 30 terrorists. Additionally, the soldiers raided the office of Muhammad Sinwar, brother of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, where the documentation of military doctrine is located. I mentioned this earlier, but here's the light colonel, they like to call him. And they did an outstanding mission and a successful one.
חטיבה 7 מובילה את אוגדה 36 החל מהכניסה לרצועת עזה. החטיבה מבצעת ביממה האחרונה פשיטות למספר מוקדים של מתקני החמאס. במהלך הפשיטות האלה אנחנו מגלים המון אמל"ח, מרחפנים, דרך כטמ"מים, כולל נשקים, מרגמות, אמצעים מודיעיניים ואמצעים טכנולוגיים. במהלך הפשיטה גם חוסלו 30 מחבלים שזוהו גם בתוך פירים וגם במרחב הפתוח. בהמשך החטיבה המשיכה לפשוט על משרדו של אח של סנוואר, מוחמד סנוואר, שבה זוהו אמצעים של תורות לחימה ואמצעים מודיעיניים נוספים. החטיבה ממשיכה את לחימתה בכל העוז, בכל הכוח, ותמשיך עד אשר נגיע לניצחון ונבטיח את ביטחונם של תושבי מדינת ישראל.